Hey guys, it's Jason here from the Omni Sales team, and congratulations for clicking on this video. You guys are doing what no one else does, and you guys are learning, training, and developing so you can become the best salesperson. Guys, you have no idea how much this is going to change your life. So many of us, when we're selling, when we're going through our sales journey, so many of us get caught up on objections. Objections seem to be the number one thing that crushes salespeople. And why? Why are objections of all things the things that crush you? I want you to think about that. So guys, before we get started, I want you to grab a pen and paper. You're going to be recording everything. You're going to be pausing the video, writing things down, going over objections in your head through this module. But the first question I want you to write down is, why am I afraid of objections? What is it in objections that scare me? Am I scared of how the client's going to react? Am I scared because I don't know what to say? Am I scared because I'm going to lose the sale because I might screw up a word track? Like, what is it about objections that really trigger salespeople? And how do we overcome it? The first thing I want you to understand with objections, guys, is that objections are a learnable skill. You already know 95% of the objections you're going to get on every deal. So if you already know what the objection is and you can anticipate the objection, you can do one of two things. You can either try and solve that objection through the presentation so it's not an objection. We call this soft closing. Or you can just wait till you get that objection in the closing process and then learn how to deal with it, or go over the tracks, learn what the best way around it is, learn how to move and progress the sale forward. But there are so many salespeople that refuse, or are too ignorant or too naive to learn that there's a way you can get over objections. So in this module specifically, we're going to be breaking down all of the keys to break down all of your objections. You're going to be hearing the different tonalities. You're going to be looking at my stance. You're going to be looking at how I face the client. All of these things are what you're going to use in order for you to overcome objections. So what we're really focusing on in this entire module is just objections. Now, before we actually start breaking down and understanding how to overcome an objection, we need to understand what an objection is. Because there might be some of you salespeople that have just picked up this course and you're like, I haven't been hit with an objection. What is it? Like, what are the kind of objections I get? So an objection is simply the client not having the courage or trust to move forward with your product. That's all it is. It's the client, write it down, the client not having the trust or courage to proceed with your product. That is all an objection is. An objection is a fear that they have about your product or something they don't trust about your product yet, or you or your company. So in order for a client to buy, they need to trust you, your product, and your company. If they trust all three, then you can move them forward to a buying decision. But if they're lacking one of those things, they're going to throw any type of objection, any type of words, anything they can to halt or to slow down that sale transaction or that sale process because they're scared. So when we have that come up, we need to understand and take a step back first and go, oh, the objection is not attacking me, because a lot of the time objections feel like they're attacking us. The objection is not them attacking me. The objection is simply them not having the courage or trust to move forward yet. So because they don't have the courage or trust, I then need to disconnect myself from the sale. I need to disconnect myself from thinking about moving this client on and progressing. And I need to slow down and think why the client doesn't trust me or have the courage to move forward. And what we do when we objection handle, or when we move into objection handling, we find out what questions to ask so we can pull that out of the client and find out where the real fear is. Because once we have the real fear, we can use that, or we can work on that and help the client or ease the client's mind so that fear is no longer a fear. So once the fear disappears, that's when we can move forward and have a buying decision made and then a buying transformation happen. But the first thing you need to do when you get hit with an objection is to first stop, have a look in the mirror and go, whoa, okay, the client has something wrong. Let's go and solve that problem first before we continue on with the transaction, before we continue on with the sale or the process of the sale. Now, the second thing I want you to understand with objections. So number one is objections are just fears of you, product, or company. That's all an objection is a fear of your product or your company. Now, the second thing to understand with an objection is objections are amazing. They are get out of jail free cards. Every time I get hit with an objection, that's literally what I think. This is my get out of jail free cards. I'm sure all of you guys at some stage have played Monopoly, and when you roll your dice around Monopoly, one of the cards you can get is a get out of jail free. So if you accidentally roll a double 4 times in a row, you get sent to jail, you can use that card to get you out. Well, it just so happens that objections are that. The jail that you're being sent to is the sale halting or the sale stopping. Because when we go there, we're going to have to do extra work. We're going to have to work around to be able to get the out of jail and be able to progress the sale forward. So when we get hit with an objection, I treat it as a get out of jail free card. The client did not leave my display, or the client did not leave my buying environment without telling me a fear or a problem they have, and that gives me an opportunity to solve that problem or fear. So when we get hit with an objection, understand that it's a fear of you, your product, or your company, and understand that this is a great opportunity for you to get out of jail. Why is it a get out of jail free card? Because guys, you need to understand, when they give you that objection, it holds the truth in the answer they give you. It holds the truth in that objection. So when they say, I haven't got enough money, well, usually money's not the problem. It's that they either don't see the value or the price they've gone and got pre-approved from the bank doesn't meet what your pricing is. And in order for you to understand what the real objection is when they say we don't have the money, you need to ask questions and you need to be able to get that out of the client. So when you see that kind of objection come up, some of the questions we ask is there a problem with the upfront cost or do you not see the long-term value? Because any time in my life that I've ever bought the cheapest thing, it's always ended up costing me the most. And you use just that simple word track. With that word track, you're finding out, is it an upfront cost issue so they can't afford it, or is it they don't see the value? And then if it's they don't see the value, wonderful. It's not a price objection now, it's a value objection. So there's something within the deal, there's something within the house or the pricing or the numbers or the inclusions that didn't quite marry up for what they were thinking they were getting. Boom, all right, let me go and solve that. And then we move over to the value objection. And we go through how to handle that. So my point is, what you're doing is they're giving you some information that allows you to crack open the puzzle. So I want you to think of objections number 3 as puzzles. So I want you to think of objections as puzzles. And why do I say puzzles? And why are we called problem solvers? So the best salespeople in the world are just great problem solvers. Because when we get hit with a puzzle, it's our job to try and solve that. So when they give us the jumbled up story, when they give us the lines that aren't quite consistent or they're not lining up, what is it the real story they're trying to convey to us? Or what is it they're holding from us? And that's what we use objections to get that out. So guys, the first thing I want you to understand before we move into the modules and start looking at all the different types of objections is simply this. If we get hit with an objection, understand that's not an attack against us. That is simply the client has a fear in us. They might not trust us yet, but it's a fear in us, our product, or our company. And what I mean by our company is they're worried about our reviews, they're worried about the longevity of our builder, they're worried about how the company interacts with its clients. When it comes to the product, they're worried about the build quality, they're worried about the inclusion specifications, they're worried about the pricing, whatever. And then when it comes to you, that's you're rushing them, you'll make them feel like they're being sold to. So if it's one of these 3 things, which is the only reason they're not moving forward is they have a fear in one of these 3 things, it's your job then to understand that when we get hit with that objection, we're using it as our get out of jail free card and understanding all you're doing is you're just solving a puzzle. That's all an objection is. So instead of thinking objections as these big scary things, understand that the more that you practice objections, the more that you solve puzzles, the more that you go through the process and train and develop, the easier and easier and easier it becomes to be able to solve. Why? Because you're going to start seeing the same patterns come up. And what you're going to find out in a moment when we go through the introduction to objections or when we go through our first few objections is that objections are all broken down into 5 categories. So objections themselves are broken down into 5 categories. So all objections are broken down into 5 categories. Those 5 categories are, number 1, the one you hear the most is time. The time objection is simply the client just scared to move forward. The time objection is, oh, I don't think this is the right time. I feel like this is moving too fast. I feel like this build is going to take too long. I feel like it's a feeling they have of time. They use time as a great smoke screen. This particular one here is purely a smoke screen. Think about it. If the price, the product, and everything was right, and you were happy, the right time to buy is always now. You're not going to wait to buy something you want to buy. So if you're not buying, it's because there's something about it you didn't want. So that's the time. Number 2 is the one that you're probably going to get the most when we work for project builders. It's going to be price. Oh, the other builder was cheaper. Oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, I thought I was getting more. Whatever it is. Price. Number 3. Value, product/service. So number 3 is value, product, or service. Value, product, or service is simply objections that we get when they wanted extra inclusions, or they're wanting, if they're wanting a different promotion, or their house wasn't quite right. It's anything to do with the direct deal. So you'll actually find that most of the time, all objections tend to lead back to value, product, or service. All objections lead here. So the goal when I said we're here to solve puzzles, it's understanding that if we're going to get to a value, service, or a product objection, how do we get there? How do we take the current objection we have, and how do we maneuver it to get to that particular point? So value, product, or service. The 4th type is trust. So the 4th type is trust. So trust is purely company-based, or technically number 5 is you, but trust is company-based, so they don't trust something about this process. They feel like they've been lied to. They feel like they might have been misled. Look, it could be one of those ones where you've given them a site cost and they don't trust that that site cost is accurate, or they don't trust that you're telling them the full story. So trust is a massive one. Trust is a pretty big objection that you get that's a legitimate objection. It's just very hard to get that out of them because they don't ever want to say they don't trust you. They're just going to blame the price or it's not the right time. You'll find that a lot of these objections, they'll just blame time because they want more time to think about it. They need more time to process to see if what you're saying is actually true. And then number 5, and the final objection you'll ever get, which you'll never be told to your face, is you. Believe it or not, there are 10% of clients that will just never buy through you. And those clients are going to give you the objection that you're the problem, but they're never going to tell you to your face. So when we understand that you can be an objection, it means you have to step up and do your job better. So if there was part of the process that you didn't go over, if there was you that weren't rocking up to the meetings on time, you were promising them to get information and you didn't, this essentially is just the integrity of the salesperson. So if you're an integrity-based salesperson, you deliver the products you say, you follow through on your word, this generally won't be an objection. It'll be one of the other 4. But believe it or not, a lot of people in new home sales actually shoot themselves in the foot, and they're the main objection because the client didn't trust how the consultant dealt with them. But yeah, these are the 5 core principles of objections. As we start breaking down this module, you'll notice that all of these objections that we're going to go over, like it's not the right time, I feel like your build times are too long, I feel like another build is quicker, I don't know what the price is, I'm not comfortable with I'm not comfortable with our inclusions. You'll notice that all objections that you get are going to be broken down into these 5 categories. So we're going to go through each one of these to make sure you understand it, and then we're going to break down each objection inside of them. So yeah, buckle up, guys. As I said, get that pen and paper, pause this video a million times when you're going through the module, practice the word tracks, practice how you would say it to a client, practice so you can make permanent, so that when you get hit with them, you're instantly going to solve it. The one thing I want you to understand about word tracks and objection handling, just so you can understand, is essentially think yourself as an actor performing a play for a client. Now, you're not there to manipulate or take advantage of the client. This is not it. If you genuinely have a product that aligns with the client's main buying goal, you know it's well priced and you know it suits their needs, it's disrespectful for you not to sell it, and it's also your responsibility to help the client make that decision. So when we go through and we're learning word tracks, we're putting on a performance for that client so the client feels they have the courage, the confidence, the enthusiasm, and the trust to move forward. So that's why you need to study. You're just like an actor. When the actor gets their lines, they get their lines to learn. Like when you go to a theater performance and you see them reciting their lines, but they're doing it via moving around, they're doing it while singing. They had to learn those lines first. That's not their words, or that's not their way of talking. So we need to learn those word tracks so that when we get put into a real life situation, boom, 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 we can answer them straight away. But the only way we're going to do that is to practice, and each one of these particular categories is going to have a branch of objections that we're going to go over. So buckle up, we'll get into it.